Hello everyone. Today is July 27th, and we're discussing design topics on the CI/CD Word. And I believe today's presenter is Vitika.
Yeah, thank you. And with that, I will start sharing my screen. I've kept the screen size small this time so that like some people in the pipeline security team, they were not able to view things very clearly when it was too large. Anyway, so today's issue is today I'm going to be sharing the progress that we are making with the proposal of GitLab Native Secrets POC. And I want to kind of reinstate that it's just a POC because I would also need some feedback on what is it that I can remove from the proposal because we want to keep it very bare minimum feature wise. Yeah. And looking at the background of this, how this has been evolving, I started off with after looking at Erica's research reports, I started off with doing a competitor evaluation just to get an idea about how the industry is going about doing things with their secret management tools, then what are the standard practices, and based on all of that, I created sketching exercise with some background information for the team to look at so that they get some inspiration from around and they can still like exercise their creative muscles and imagine what a similar concept that sits native to GitLab could look like. And the outcome of that was really interesting. I think I should have it open here somewhere. Yeah, these are all the things that we got from that exercise. And then we moved on to doing a story mapping exercise because we really wanted to be very sure about what is it that we're enabling users to perform using this particular offering. So the four tasks that we figured are key to this tool that we are building are access to key storage, which in our case is not going to be like a separate entity, not a separate vault, but something integrated in GitLab. Then storing a key, accessing a key, and lastly, managing a key. And you would see the security columns are still empty because I have a meeting scheduled with a security person from GitLab where I would be discussing with him how we should go about thinking about what security the person responsible for security would be concerned about when it comes to secret. Anyway, so looking at all the tasks that are documented here, I'm going to be taking you through, I would say this is not the first, but second iteration of design because the first went this was the first one and we received a lot of feedback from the team, from outside the team. And based on all of that, I made some refinements. It's still not like in a very perfect stage, of course, but at a really good place where I should be asking for feedback from the CI/CD design team. So kicking it off.
Sorry, before you continue, can you hide the sidebars from Figma so that we only see the
sure.
The content?
Why is it not appearing?
I think it's comment,
What's this?
comma, something like that. No, it's a comment and period. The shortcut.
Okay, it's gone away. But what was the shortcut for like hiding all the UI? If anybody remembers that.
Comment period.
Comment period. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Susanna. All right. The first mistake is I have missed that there'll be a secret. It's in the previous design. Yeah, this is going to carry over. So let's start with this. So here what you're seeing is a project level secret page. And yeah, I did not want to draw attention to this, but this is definitely not going to be what the navigation that we're proposing. I just wanted to keep this separate from builds because secrets don't always relate to builds. And when I was presenting it as a part of build, it was kind of problematic because it was miscommunicating that secrets are something which are always associated with builds. So I wanted to break away from that. But that also opened up another challenge for us that where would this go? And this is going to be more of a concern when we move to the MVC stage because POC is not going to be shipped as a part of GitLab. It's something that's going to be standalone. So for now, I can probably keep it this way, but I'll like still create an issue, put all the evidences and rethink where this should be going. Yeah, so for both the project and group level, I plan to add a secrets page which is going to be very similar to look at when we go to like settings, CI/CD variables, like what information the table has, but a few things will be done differently. So first of all, for secrets, we are not going to show any value because once a secret is created, nobody gets to see the value, even if they have the right to edit, even if they own the secret. If they wish to edit it after that, they'll have to like completely let go of like override the previous thing, and they never get to look at it again. So on the secrets page, if there are secrets that exist, this is the table that they would get to see. If not, then there's going to be an empty state, not worked on yet. So for a secret, I kind of proposed this, and I also asked around in the team if this is going to be helpful, as it is for variable to know if a secret has been inherited from a group or subgroup. And turns out it is going to be. So I retained this, then giving an idea about if this has been created in association with an environment. Now, one thing that I still see clarity on from the development team is if there is always going to be an environment associated like variable, because maybe that's not a requirement. So some secrets will have environments, some will not. Another critical information to show are when was the secret last accessed from YAML, from somewhere else, then when was it created, and when is the upcoming rotation. So for upcoming rotation, one moment. Yeah. So another thing that we're exploring for upcoming rotation is like if we mention the date here that it was created on, and let's say the day, May 29, it might not. Then the rotation should be relative. Like it should say that every Thursday at this time, the rotation is going to happen, because we don't want to keep it very abstract. It should be very clearly communicating when exactly the rotation is due. And then looking at what actions we want to allow. So the team came up with really good suggestions here. Since this is native to GitLab, we want to make it really smooth for both developers and maintainers to be able to use these secrets in their workflow. So keeping the curl command handy is kind of the extra value that we can provide here, because that's going to be unique to GitLab. You can just come here, copy the curl commands, and just go and use them in CLI. That's one. Then I have added a delete icon here, yes, but I don't think that's the right one, because there's still a discussion going on whether we should allow deleting or revoking access to a secret, because deleting might not be something it's not something that's recommended, because when it comes to secret, there needs to be an audit log. Audit log I've not added to this page, but it's a part of the MVC proposal here, because that's again a lot of work. We don't want to get into that in the POC stage. But
why is an audit log needed? Can you just explain a little bit about that?
Sure. So audit log with secret, every small little thing that is being done with a secret is a compliance and security issue. Is not something that should be taken lightly. So our users, they really want a visibility into when the secret was accessed, who was it accessed by, when was any changes made to the access policy of a secret, and like who are the concerned individuals who are taking those actions, like a record of that, because it's really critical as a resource. There has also been a similar request for variables, but compared to variables, the requirement for a secret audit log is more critical. And that's the reason we can't just like allow somebody to just come and delete a secret, because that's something that needs to be recorded somewhere.
And then thanks for that. And then just so I understand, in this current proposal, you don't have like a detailed view for each secret, right? The audit log is separate because it's going to be something for the future.
There has to be a detail page. No, there's no detail page as of now. And like if I have forgotten to add the edit button. Yeah, there is an option to edit, but when somebody goes to edit that, what they will see is this form again that they used to create the secret, just that the value is not going to be shown to them. Or it's probably going to be disabled because if they really choose to edit the value, they'll have to completely let go of the previous value. They cannot go and make changes to the value that they entered before. That shouldn't be allowed. So what I'm expecting that they'll come to this page 4 is mostly to fix the access permission, like who should have access to do what with the secret, and not necessarily to change the key and value. Um, and I'm yet to create a screen for that, like what editing on the same screen would look like, because not all of these fields would play a part there.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the pattern that I'm thinking of, like replicating for all of these here, that really representing when it was created, when the rotation is due, and keeping very few actions which are very critical, not overloading this area yet. And then when users click on this button here that says new secret, they will go to this form. Now this form used to be pretty simple, but it changed yesterday. Used to be, as in my first iterations, I thought maybe I can do everything in just one single form and I don't have to split it. But after so I had a meeting with Marcel, but we also talked about this design. So he he brought up the disadvantages of showing the preview on the same page. What I'm proposing is there's a form, you fill in on all the information, but because secret is a critical resource, we don't allow just creating the secret just yet, like storing it just yet, but instead we want to give them a chance to make any corrections once they see a summary of all the choices that they have made. So for example, they would be adding access permission through here, and there are a few things that would not be very clear just from looking at these drop downs. So let's say this is the permission that they have added, that maintainers can view and edit, and a particular user can read. And so like summarizing all of their choices together and showing them before letting them add it to the repository is going to be very beneficial. It's also like a practice that a couple other tools follow, but we can do it like we would do it a little differently and more to the benefit of GitLab, because the commands that we can show here and the snippets that we can show here can be exclusive to the actions within GitLab. Like besides curl commands, which I think is for POC, maybe in MVC we can show them how this would be used in a YAML file. And that would give them pretty good idea about what the secret would look like in a YAML file before they go and add it. So once they are happy with what they see as a preview, they can just go and click on add, else they can just go back and click on edit and go back to the form, make changes again. If they choose to add, then they will go back to the list view. And with a small toast here that says that this, or if we have a pattern to highlight a row in the table for a newly added resource. And this is what I have for now. Now I have highlighted some questions in the agenda. The first one being if the user flow, like from a top level, if this makes sense, or are there some obvious challenges which are very apparent and that should be looked at. Then the icon here that I'm using for delete, for revoke, it's used for delete. For revoke, I couldn't think of like what could be a better representation of an icon here. And lastly, now that this has been split into two parts, the creation flow, how can I communicate it better to users that there are two parts to this flow? Yeah.
Thanks, Ritika. So should we just go through the question here that you put before this meeting? Let's see. So it seems like we covered this. And then I think the next item that we haven't covered is like, do you have any suggestions for better components that can be useful the actions? So I have a question here, like, what do you mean by action? Is it the icon button that could copy and revoke, or the other action do you mean here?
I don't mean like these very specific action,
Okay.
but rather the tasks that we are allowing them to do. And one thing that I'm very sure is going to change is how I'm presenting the summary, because this is just like I kind of winged it, and this does not comply with pajamas at all. So I would really like to know if there's a similar summary presented elsewhere in GitLab that I could look at. And yeah.
I have one feedback. Let me move my comment here because I also didn't understand what I thought actions you were talking about,
Okay.
copy, delete. I think just by looking at it, right? I think first, let me ask a question. How often are we expecting users to go into this view and then create a secret, edit, like copy that value?
Not very
and
frequently.
Not very frequently. Yeah, that's my assumption, thinking of variables, for example, especially because you cannot see the secret right after it's created. So it's there.
Yeah. And one thing I want to highlight, like for POC, we had a discussion that maybe we don't want to like open up even the project secrets page to developers just yet, because I mean that's kind of a stretch, that to allow that level of customization that a developer would have access to even doing anything with secrets. So we'll probably not allow them. And maybe in MVC, when we bring up more customization to permissions, we can rethink this. But it's only going to be the maintainer and the owner who would be taking these calls. And security, I have so far included that maybe, yes, they would want to access the secret page to maybe do an audit, a security audit. And so it's not going to be too frequent.
Yeah. So if you go to your prototypes, this view here where you click, let's say on the edit button, right? If there's an edit button there, and then you go to this new secret view. My comment here, my suggestion is this could be simplified and become a model, right? Similar to what we already do in the settings patterns. I feel like because it's such a small interaction and a small step that people are not, like what you said, we're not expecting them to come here every day and have to fill in the details and review things. I think it's a burden that you have 2 pages to do such a small action. So my suggestion is here's a, experiment with the model. Maybe you have already done so, but I also think that it would simplify it for both development, but also the navigation back and forth, so you don't have to create more pages, etc. That makes sense?
It does. I want to add comment. How do I bring back the UI? Come on, period is not working anymore. Okay, it worked. Finally.
Stuck forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's real relevant comment. Sorry, I interrupted someone.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I mean, like it's not like very similar patterns, but like you have some code box inside. So this reminds me of something when we fetch the branch, when we open the MR, and then when we try to fetch the branch and check out, there is the model shows up how you fetch this branch and then start working on this. I think maybe you could see those pages because I made some changes at the time, so I could also try to find the Figma file.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah,
that also kind of contains a snippet and all of that.
Yeah. Cool. Sorry, I think I interrupted Hayana. So please go on.
No, I think this is Vidika, and I think this is you, Sanjun, with the summary view. That's what you mentioned. And then I don't want to take over all the conversation here, but I didn't realize until I start seeing what Vitica was going to show that my questions have a place in the agenda. And then your second, anyone before I continue, maybe anyone wants to talk about the components or at least the flow that Vitica presented.
Please shower some more critical feedback. It can be brutal. I really don't mind. I want to just make changes.
It looks good.
I can go over my comments then, and then
Yeah.
others can fill in the conversation. And then I thought about a filter bar, V, because when you start talking about, I was looking at those labels and I'm like, what are those in this? Yes, so you have that here at this level, but then in the other prototypes you didn't have. When you start
Yeah,
showing
because
the
for MVC,
yeah, sorry, continue.
for POC, I don't think the team would want to develop this, so I just put it in the MVC.
Okay. Yeah, because when I started looking at these labels here for inherited, and then you have dev environment, right? Because these are going to be like the things in a way that classify that, yeah, you also attach value to the secret, to this variable based on that. And when I saw that page, I was like, okay, then why is this a label added under to the secret, like added in a secret column? How many environments can a secret be assigned to, right?
I had the same question below, so I'll move it over to the top. The top.
So this is a question that I think I should add to the technical discussion, because so far secrets are not very, like, they're not the first concerns, but I really want to understand, like, in the context of GitLab, how important would environments be to secrets?
Yeah, when I look at it, I think Gina has a prototype that is similar for runners. If you look at her runner fleet, I'm gonna try to find that the prototype. She has also like multiple labels, and my concern here is that one, if you can have like, I don't know, 100 environments, I don't know, multiple pipelines, especially if it's inherited, right? If it's an inherited secret, the UI is gonna break if you have all these labels there, right? And also, if this is so relevant, should it be I don't know, at a different level, right? Not information attached to the name of the secret, or like how we are calling that variable. I see Sunjum nodding her head. Do you want to add something, Sunjum?
That was exactly my question, because like, so I don't know yet. And then I think, of course, you need to check in with your engineers, but maybe in case users, let's say, want to filter by the environment, and then they want to see those secrets inside, then I think it makes sense to have this into the different information level, so that, because like currently it's more like attached to the secret name. So yeah, I think it's worth to check that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna link here to one of Gina's prototype for, I think it's the runner detail page. Let me, where are we? I think we're on here in the agenda. Yeah. So if you look at this one, and it's always chaotic when you try to navigate someone else's Figma file. It's very organized, Gina. That's not the feedback, but it's just the mental model is different. Okay, here it is, settings. She has that. Yeah, so if you zoom in on this one that is highlighted, the first one, details. No, yeah, here, yeah, zoom in there. And you see, I think it tags, it's in a way what environments will be for you. You see?
Yes.
So if you have that detail page, and if you're going to have something like that you think that there will be a detail page or an audit log, I would recommend syncing with Gina, because let's make sure that we are reusing the patterns for these pages.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is helpful.
So there's the detail view, and here's like overview. She has the, let's see. Yeah, if you click on my face there on Figma, you'll be able to see what I'm looking at. Yes. Yeah, here she has a status, but I think that for you, perhaps it's something like that. Like, I don't know, environments,
So here
inherited,
it's
yes
really
or no.
important. Yeah. So for runners, the status is really important. Maybe for secrets, the labels that I've added, they are not half as important.
Yeah, you could have it's just like when we have what we have in issues or epics, when you have that overview, the list view, you don't have in every list view item or in every table column like all the data that we can assign to an issue. So maybe that's something for the filter. So
Yeah.
not showing the UI. What others think?
Right. So like if I go to, let's say here, then how we like we still let people filter by certain labels, but they are not always in a separate column.
Yeah. Because if you know that there can be multiple environments added to it, the UI is going to break even on the POC.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll clarify that with the team and then see how this can be improved, and if this is like absolutely necessary and useful to provide this information here.
I think
Okay.
I had the next one. It was just between like the inherited label and the environment label. Is there a reason they're the same? Because those two seem very different. And when I was looking at it, it seemed like they were the same category. So I was wondering, is there a reason they're the same color visually, or because I did see in Gina's mocks too, everything was blue. So that might have just been from my misunderstanding of this, but
so for Gina's mock, like these ones, I think colors and labels, they can be mistaken as status. So that's why I tried keeping everything neutral. And yeah, that was the only reason.
well, I was just curious if there is a reason between that or not.
Yeah, I still have to polish out a lot of things here. And this was also feedback by Michael that like maybe because the list can go really long, and if I'm auditing, I would probably only want to look at the project secrets for now and not get confused by the group ones, which are also part of the list. So I added this small filter, but of course it's not going to make it to the POC.
This is curious because show project secrets and all secrets. So this is like a filter indeed, not just a, but if you scroll a little bit to the left, on the tabs, you have secret and audit log. But then you also have audit log for each individual secret in the secret view. What does the audit log page show? And why not have like secrets, like project secrets or all secrets,
That's a
in there?
really good question, that if users would find it more helpful to have like individual audit logs or a collective audit log.
Yeah, my
Because
assumption was,
sorry, because my assumption is maybe they have the log per secret, but I also don't have many information around this. I was wondering about the same thing. Yeah. Sorry, Haina, go ahead.
I forgot. What I was going to say. Yeah. Because
sorry.
because I'm thinking I'm here, I'm a user, I created a secret, or I want to see audit log. I want to see like, I don't know, something's failing in my pipeline. I want to see if someone has changed a particular secret value because I cannot see the secret value anymore, right? So I go to audit log page, and then I still have to do a search to find the secret information in the audit log to see what happened with that particular secret. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. As a user, I click audit log, and then what do I see? Do I see just a log of everything that happened with all the secrets? I still have to use the search and the filter to see like, okay, show me only for client ID, when I could just go here, click client ID, and see the audit log for that particular secret, right?
Right.
Um,
So I have like a counter case for that as well. I mean, what you said is really relevant. That individual audit log is helpful, but I feel that we need both because to figure out like what has really changed, if the collective audit log is not available, person has to go to all of the individual secrets to see what was updated and what changed.
But this information also gets stored in the audit log page, like the project audit log, right? So you could just go there and see it.
Okay.
It shouldn't, I mean, if it's a requirement, of course, but for example, when something changed in the release, I don't know, I created a release item, and then Emily went in and edited that release and, changed the release notes. If you go to the audit log, it shows there, like the project audit log. So
Okay.
do we want to replicate that audit log experience here for the sake of the edge case when something goes wrong with your secret? Or can we
Definitely
just,
not.
yeah, we can just bring users somewhere else, like somewhere
Because,
that, place that already exists.
yeah, I remember that even for this thing, for variables, that's the page that users are currently using. I mean, they're asking for an audit log for variables, but they're currently using the project audit log to see what's being done. So it is helping them to some extent. So I definitely don't want to replicate that thing. That's a good point.
Any other questions?
Any suggestion for the icon for revoke?
Emily and I put something in the doc.
Okay.
So my first thought was like just X mark, but I don't know, it might be not clear, like because we already used this and like clearing the keyword in the filter bar, and then like X is anyways so frequently used. So I was like, I wasn't sure, like thinking phase, and then I saw that Emily has also another idea. You like to verbalize, Emily?
Yeah, so I've seen revoke. I forget where I've seen this, but I've seen it. The best I could explain was an arrow doing a U-turn. I don't know if this is actually in Pajamas or one of our icons, but it was just what I've seen before when I'm revoking something was this icon.
I think when we are adding or removing users from projects and groups, we have something similar. Let's see that.
Oh yeah, the members area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see the Pajamas project here. Still not used to the navigation. I keep going to the wrong places. Here. In the project members view, it's not inline editing, but if there's an expiration date, you can change that. This. So you have the person, have the role, but it's on this view, and I don't know if you can just maybe I don't have rights in this project. No, wait, I have the settings.
Yeah, that's possible.
It might be like a maintainer only.
I
like
found
I feel
it.
like
I think so.
I'll share the screen. It's on GDK. So this is what we see: remove member.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if
And
since there are 3 actions, I can probably put a kebab menu there.
no.
Yeah, I think it depends, but like for the removal or revoke, I think it's better to maybe hide it inside there because we don't want them to like click in by mistake. Of course, I'm pretty sure we'll have some confirmation model or so, but maybe yeah, we can consider using that.
Yeah,
Fine, by the way.
I
It
think that makes
shows
sense.
tooltip on the button when I hover.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And if later on you're going to have, for example, I don't know, maybe you have a detail view, and you want those actions to be, how do you call that? Manage, like in the detail, because right now it's copy and then you copy the value, right? But wait a second, what are you copying here if user cannot see the secret? If they don't have access to the secret?
These are the commands to access it. They won't be able to see the value. They can only access it in their work that they're doing.
Okay, maybe we can communicate that in a different way, because I thought here I would copy the secret so I could use it.
Yeah, there is a tooltip I've added, but that's very like heavy on words. I should probably change it. Copy. Also, because it's curl command, I learned yesterday from the team, there are going to be like many different curl commands for listing, for revoking, for like the API related actions like get. So it can't be as straightforward as just one copy command. I think it's going to be a split drop down. Like which curl command do you want to copy? Or remove.
I see that we have another point. Do you have any other
This one?
question before we move on to, yeah.
So I think Hannah gave a really good suggestion that it can be a modal.
Yeah.
And also the example that you shared, Sunjung, that this what we see when we are checking out branches for an MR.
Yeah.
The preview snippet at the end. Oh, okay. That's my comment here.
Yeah.
I was trying to find like, where did I say that? I think that's something different too, right? Because the preview snippet at the end requires to be redesigned with Pajamas components. Related to that, and that was my comment here. Because if you show the UI V, it's like the review changes, right? I find it quite heavy for such a small flow, because you have an overview and you click add new secret or create new secret, whatever. Then you have a form in only a few fields, and then you're asking the user on this whole page to like, please confirm all the information. But can they do that already in the previous view while editing? They just enter the field. Maybe they're not going to see the curl command. I don't know, maybe there's something that once after they create something here, I don't know, you can get a preview on this page for just the curl command, but not the whole data set, right? Because it's just date, expiration, and then roles and permissions. It's such a small set of information to justify, I think, having a whole review
That's
page.
true. And also like this curl command at this point, so initially I thought that maybe we'll show a snippet of how this can be used in the pipelines, but this particular one, I think it's better to show this after the secret is created, because it's a very practical command for using the secret. And like seeing that here, what difference it would make to their decision for adding the secret, I'm not sure. Probably nothing.
Yeah, because also if you show that before and then I haven't added the secret, I cannot use it. So imagine someone that is not really paying attention to this flow, and they see, oh, nice, this is the curl command I can use, and they close the tab or they don't save this. So it's a bit misleading that you're showing this is the the curl, these are all the commands I'm creating
Yeah.
when the secret's not there yet. What do others think?
Yeah. Okay, I can like condense the summary and show it on the same page. Yeah, I'll see if the same, like I can maybe change the state of the same form to show all this information, or maybe, or if a modal is required there. And
You had a comment here, right, Sunjung? This one?
Oh no, this is a different one because I thought this was about the mobile component, so you can ignore that. Cool. Any other
this was-
comments?
I'm very happy with all the feedback. I'm like writing down the action items for myself.
She's like,
Yeah.
I think next time let's experiment with leaving the feedback directly in Figma, like kind of like a Fig Jam, right? Everybody leaves the comments because now we go doc and Figma,
Yeah,
and then
maybe
I think
that's
that will make
better.
that makes sense. Okay.
So then we can move on to, we'll see. So I have one comment about pricing. I'm not so sure if I'm allowed to verbalize this or not. So I just made it as read only.
We can probably like stop the recording and then do this discussion.
Okay, sure. Do you have any other questions? Are you okay with just stopping the record and talk about the pricing here?
I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. So I'll stop recording.